Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel and welcome to my Conjuring movie reviews. Now this is the very last one that we've got, so far, and that is the Nun Part 2. Now this is going to be a spoiler review guys, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to get spoiled, then look away now. But if you've seen it or you don't mind spoilers, then just continue watching. So the Nun 2 sort of picks up where the last Nun left off. And if I'm being honest, I think it kind of blends in quite well with the end of the first movie, considering this movie was 5 years ago. And I think it was set maybe 4 years apart. And I didn't even know this, but Frenchie, Maurice from part 1 is in part 2 as well. I can't remember if I saw him in the trailer for part 2. Maybe he was in there. I can't really remember. But I completely forgot about this character, and then when he came into this one, I was like, oh, there's Maurice. I didn't know what happened to him, but he was back again. Unfortunately for Maurice, though, he's carrying around Valak inside of him, and he doesn't know it until later on in the movie. He's going from place to place, killing priests, or whoever it is at the time. He's killing them looking for something, and he finally finds what he's looking for, or Valak finds what she's looking for, in this place in France. Now, there is a bit of a twist in the movie, if you want to call it a twist, and that is, there is this St. Lucia, or is it St. Lucy? The eyes of St. Lucy is what Valak is looking for, and we find out at the end of the movie that St. Lucy is related or is a descendant of Irene in this movie, played by Taissa Farmiga. Because Irene is related to this St. Lucy, then this is what gives her the power to defeat Valak, and then Valak disappears until possibly a third Nun movie. I think part 2 hits similar vibes to part 1 in that we get a lot of jump scares in the movie, and a lot of jump scares that are not really well done and they've got no payoff whatsoever. It's just a case of making you jump and then moving on to the next scene, and you see that quite a lot in this movie, which is one of the downsides for it. But if I'm being very honest, guys, there are some scenes in this movie that worked really well. For example, there was a scene where Valak was standing behind one of the characters, but it wasn't a jump scare. She was just standing behind one of those characters and moved to her, moved away, panned away, and then she disappeared. No jump scare, but that was very effective. That happens quite a few times in this film, so that was a good thing because we didn't see any of that in the first Nun movie. There are some jump scares that they learned the mistake from in the part 1, but they go around the same sort of thing over and over again still. When it comes to the acting, I think the acting was really good. The acting is really good in most of these Conjuring movies, but I think the acting in this one was a lot better. There was a lot more characters in this one that I could get behind. For example, Storm Reid, she played a really good part in this movie. And there's also the teacher with her daughter as well, and some of the bullies in the school as well. So some of these characters that were brought into the Nun 2, I could latch onto these ones, especially the teacher. There's something about the teacher that I think I could relate to. I think she was a very down-to-earth character, very realistic character in an unrealistic world. So with the addition of those characters, with the return of Irene and Maurice, I think the cast was pretty solid in this one. Something about this movie that I didn't like, which is similar to part 1, was there was some sort of magical MacGuffin that they had to find and use against the bad guy. And that's exactly what they've done in this one. They had to find the eyes of St. Lucy, and that was the MacGuffin in this movie. We didn't realise it till halfway through it, but when we find out, I'm sitting there going, oh, not another one of these. I know that they don't really have anywhere else to go without having this sort of MacGuffin in a movie like this, but because they introduced it to us, I'm just like, oh, what is the point in this? And I think one of the biggest issues that we have with this is, if these are the eyes that could defeat Valak finally, then where does Valak come into it in The Conjuring 2? She doesn't need to appear, but because it is a prequel to The Conjuring 2 and any other movie that Valak's been in afterwards, we just know that Valak's going to come back. Whether it be killing Irene and Maurice or anybody else, it doesn't matter because we know the fate of Valak already, then we know that Valak's not going to disappear forever. So if they do a Nun 3, then is that going to be set after the Conjuring Universe movies? Because that's the only way they can really go without the audience knowing what's going to happen. Now, again, this is a spoiler review. After the credits, there is a mid-credit scene of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they get a phone call from Father Gordon, I think it is. And because it is in the Nun 2, is it related to the Nun, or is it just an introduction to tell us that there's another Conjuring movie? It could be a bit of both. Maybe in the next Conjuring movie, they are going to be dealing with Valak yet again. Maybe we'll have Taissa Farmiga come into it as an older character. Maybe there'll be a connection there between the Warrens and Valak within the Nun universe, because we know that we got the Warrens in the Annabelle movies. So maybe the Warrens are going to be introduced into the Nun films as well. That's the only way that I could really see this movie or this subgenre moving forward, is because having the Nun on its own set before the Conjuring films, we just know that Valak's going to reign victorious, whereas if you set it after the Conjuring films, then we don't know what's going to happen. Overall though, guys, I think I was kind of surprised at the fact that it wasn't a bad film. It's a lot better than part 2. It's not a great film. There is still a lot of jump scares, a lot of cliche moments within the movie, but there are some really nice setups in this film, good acting and really good sound effects as well. So it wasn't a terrible movie, a lot better than the first one, but overall it was just an okay film. So if you've seen this movie, guys, leave your comments down below, let me know what you thought of it. And as always, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back! Save